JB here. Hope everyone's doing outstanding. Friday, July 11th, 9:06 a.m. Talk really quick about the market. Some names I'm looking at go from there. S&P futures down about 0.5% or a little over 0.5%. Markets closed at all-time highs, and then you had Trump with an interview, I guess NBC, CNBC, one of those outlets, and said they're going to slap a 35% tariff on Canada, and that's outside the U.S. Mexico Canada trade agreement stuff. So, uh, surprise! I mean, futures sold off right away, uh, and then they bounced into the overnight hours and late or early this morning, and then back to lows. To me, it's like, I mean, it's not on all the goods, right? And it's not official yet, and it's not till August 1st. It just to me felt like I wouldn't say it was like Mondays. Mondays was during the market hours, things sold off. It's like people are looking for an excuse to take profits, but we remain in this kind of news vacuum. So all these headlines and stuff just gives folks an excuse to take some profits. So we'll see. I wouldn't be surprised to see red to green here today. There are more letters going out today. I mean, Canada and the EU. We already kind of know what the Canada looks like. And then the other backdrop here is crypto. I mean, Bitcoin all the way up to 118,000. Just remarkable stuff. Gosh, I remember back in the day, I wrote articles. I think I've shared them here. Back in 2013, when I started looking at Bitcoin, it's like it used to be. All these headlines would talk about it being just part of the drug cartel, right? How it's all criminals use it. It's the behind the door. It's the shadow banking. You know, people moving things to buy guns and drugs and kidnapping and all. And I'm not saying that doesn't exist, but it exists with all monetary instruments, right? Um, but it's like such a great just a great case on how headlines and how everything gets steered, and even for stocks, right? Early stages of stocks is always the same thing, right? And you look at some of these names that have been uh, bear pieces written on them year after year until eventually those bear pieces disappear and the stocks are all-time highs. Gosh, I mean, I can go, and it's not a rant about these stuff, but Intuitive Surgical used to be one of my favorite names back in the day before it split three times or two times thousands of percent ago. And you'd have Herb Greenberg, who still writes bearish pieces talking so bad about it, you would think the stock's going to zero, right? Same with Netflix. I mean, there was so many people who were bearish on Netflix thousands of percent ago, many splits ago, talking about zero hedge. All these folks, every earnings would be like, oh my gosh, they're gonna run out of money. They have all these off the balance sheet debt obligations, these payments. Oh no, they're creating content. Oh no, they're doing this, they're doing that, and here it is. I mean, now I mean, stock is like unstoppable. So I'm not saying Bitcoin obviously. I mean, it could have a ways to go, but it's just if you keep that in the back of your head when you look into some of these early stage names, it kind of helps you take out some of the noise and say, hey man, it's possible, even in the midst of all the craziness that goes on with some of these names. I'm not gonna use a comparison here with Joby, but I'll talk about Joby in a second. But anyway, so crypto rallying, and then now it's all about next week. So it's because there's such a news vacuum. People are already talking about CPI data on Tuesday. Earnings season kicks off. Now you have people writing about the bank earnings on Tuesday. Banks have been on a tear, but so is the market. I mean, most of the names you look at, they say, oh, these names have been on a tear. Yeah, we're at all-time highs, and that's only after the huge 20% plus drop in April. So, all right. So rants for other days, but take a look at the market here. SPY was up about what nearly 30% yesterday. Now was up 0.02% week to date after Monday's pullback. We'll see what happens here today. But 617 to 628. We got all the way down to 621.40 on the SPY earlier this morning. So if we break that, maybe I would look for some spec lotto put hedges, but I'll probably be more apt to play for a bounce here today. US dollar stronger yields are slightly higher, so nothing to write home about there. And then, gold up 1.3% here this morning. I think it's just more, some of it, they keep making a story about the debt and the loss of the US dollar's reserve currency status. Uh, I keep trying to shake it off. US dollars had a decent week here this week, and we'll see what happens next week. All right, so that's and also in regards to gold, I mean, I was trying to get a stop on the GLD position, and if it broke over the 50-day moving average. We'll see what happens here today. I still think it's headed lower, so at some point maybe I'll look for another position. All right, so that's that. Individual names, Joby rallied yesterday, up another 6%. It's up nearly 17% on a week. I used the move to close some more of the August, some of the August strikes out. In lieu of trying to look for October strikes, I was talking about this on a rant yesterday afternoon. The October strikes on a risk score base have to go all the way out to like 18, 19, $20 strikes. Don't get me wrong. I think it could head head above that in a very short period of time. I don't know if this is the start of it. If it is, still have an opportunity to get some October strikes. But that same token, I don't want to put too much risk on if it doesn't. So I took some less expensive August strikes on top of my August 12s. I posted in the watch list this morning. Carysdale Capital was a big short on it back in 2023. It's a nice read, right? If you want to know about that sector and the advent of what could be these electric vehicle takeoff and landing companies, it's a decent read on some of the stuff. They did good due diligence. It's just that it's easy to poke holes in a name that hasn't, pun intended, taken off the ground yet. Now they're further out. They have investments from Toyota, Uber. Even Archer has partnerships with Virgin Atlantic and I think airlines, right? United Airlines, American Airlines, one of those. But I'm not saying that's proof of concept and proof of it's going to come to fruition, right? I mean, who remembers Nikola back in the day getting an investment from GM, $1 billion or $2 billion? Crazy stuff. Not going to go on a rant on that one either. Concern here would be the upper this trend line, right? So 1250. Maybe we can get through that today. I'd be happy if it just closes above $12 here today and then maybe kind of resumes next week. But again, I keep talking about sectors going on tears. It's like one of these days is going to be the start of a massive run in these names. And they've already had massive runs, but I wouldn't even say they're not massive runs over all-time highs. JOBY was 17, $18, I think back in 2021. So, all right, rants for other days. But if it holds 12, maybe next week I'll look to get the October strikes. Then some profits. I locked the rest of my Dell 130s in for over 100%. I just didn't want to see the profits come out of those. Still think that heads to the gap 139. It's just been taking its time. Yesterday, Jensen met with Trump, and now Jensen from NVIDIA, the CEO, is over in China, right? I would not be surprised, similar to a shadow Fed chair being announced by Trump. I would not be surprised if there's some announcement in regards to restrictions on chips, whether for NVIDIA or as a whole. I would say restrictions, there'll be limitations, but if it seems like eons ago where NVIDIA reported earnings and it had to write down $5 billion of product because of weren't able to ship it to China, chips specifically made for China. If that gets pulled back, NVIDIA is already $4 trillion valuation. I don't know how much it would rally much more, but that certainly could bode well for the rest of the sector, including Dell. All right, so that's Dell. Still have the 140s on Dell. If it shows some strength, maybe if it holds 128 or so today, I'll look to get some 135s, put that on the watch list. Roku sold the last of my 95s at the open. It just didn't look like it was going to break through on that upgrade yesterday. And then it broke all the way back under, well, not all the way. It wasn't too big a move, under 90. And then it bounced for the rest. They closed 90.25. There's a fat finger at 99.95 this morning. I like sometimes those fat fingers come out to play. So I'm not saying I'm going to add any more strikes here on Roku, but if I do get some, I'm looking at August strikes to play for premium build into earnings, but I'll continue to be patient there. Dexcom, if anybody's been around for a while, it's a name I used to trade back in the day. They do the glucose monitoring for folks with diabetes, type 1 and type 2, but type 1 obviously is more important, but great name back in the day because it's, if you were a kid and you had diabetes back in the day, you had to do these tests, draw blood, do all this crazy stuff to find out how your glucose levels were. And then finally technology caught up, and then now you have sensors. Then it was with an app, and then you have, so it's kind of made that painful process a heck of a lot simpler, easier, less intrusive, things like that. So I used to love Dexcom back in the day, but then over the last last couple of years, GLP-1 came into the space, and Dexcom was kind of focusing a little bit on the type 2 diabetes, which is more, I guess you would call it controllable. And then because of that, GLP-1 drugs, right? I mean, you see these studies now, weight loss goes down, type 2 diabetes goes away. You don't have a need for things like that. You don't need to monitor anymore. So I think a combination of those two things caused the stock to really tumble. But now they're on the rebound. They have a new product coming out the back half of this year. And then they're going to refocus on type 1 diabetes. Take that together, I think it's set for a move. And you take a look at the chart, it looks almost like VKTX over the last 2 months, just chopping around between 87.50 and 80. I think once it gets over 87.50, it's off to the races. Should have earnings at the end of July, so I might look for some August strikes, so kind of like a long-term trade. But good story. The thing is, it does have competition with Abbott and Medtronics, but it's got like a best-in-class or right up there best-in-breed product. So I like Dexcom. Don't be surprised if I add some strikes. Not only, I think it was a $300 stock a couple of years ago. All right, that's that. Speaking of breaking out, VKTX over 30 for the third session in a row. Cross fingers here. Still have some July 40s, and I'll continue to hold the August 50 freebies for data, which hopefully is out before August expiration. And then those small cap bios turn, Corbis, edit. At some point, I might look to add some strike depending. Maybe today's the day. I would love to see small caps participate here. And do I have my chart up on IBB? I didn't even see what the IBB did yesterday. Yeah, up another 1% today. IBB is at its 200-day moving average, not seen since February. So maybe it's the start of something here. Anyway, let's have a great day. I'll be back on audio later. Let's rock and roll.